Hey, I appreciate you doing this. How's everything going?
Oh man, going well, man. Haven't seen you since the dinner. I mean, I think it was a breakfast we had at in Tampa in a brand new cafeteria at the
I
time.
remember that. Yeah, yeah.
Doing well.
Times change. Yeah, things change. But I remember the conversation we had a long, long time ago about Ralph Pacifico,
Oh yeah.
and he texted me. I don't know, a week or so ago. He goes, "Hey, Raheem getting the job?" And I said, "I don't know, Ralph." I said he's got to win. He's got to win some games that maybe you don't think he's going to win, but we'll see what happens.
Peter, you just got to go with the 1-0 mentality, man. You just got to
Yeah.
play one game at a time. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just handle the stuff you can control.
That's one of the things we'll talk about that, but that's one of the things I've really learned about good coaches that, and so many of them, like Matt Rule was telling me he's got this thing from Chuck Noll on his wall in his office, and it says, "The only game is this week's game."
That's it. Rod Marinoli gave me that same quote when I first got in the National Football League in 2002.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things he handed me. He handed me an article from Chuck Noll, and I had to read the article, and that quote was in it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, hey, you ready to go?
Sure.
Okay, good. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Back on the podcast, so happy to be joined by Raheem Morris, the interim head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. He, of course, aiming to take away that interim tag. Raheem, just before we started, we were talking about something that I have found to be so present among really good coaches in the NFL, and that is that old saying from Chuck Noll, the only game that matters is the next game, or this week's game is the most important game. Is that the approach you take now that, everybody's asking you the question, hey, you're going to get the full-time gig?
Just throughout the weeks and as they've been going, we've just been taking the 1-0 mentality, for our team, for our guys, for everybody. You can't worry about things that you can't control. Things that you can't control is how you go about every single game and how you attack the game, and how you try to dictate terms and how you're trying to win each game. And that's just the approach that we've been taking.
Raheem, tell me a little bit about the team that you inherited. I know that one of the things that really surprised me when you took over this team was, so they fired a coach and general manager. You guys had a COVID thing that week, so I think you only got one practice in that week. And then you get on a plane and you go to Minnesota and you manhandle the Vikings. Take me back to that week, and let's just go over, how'd you find out you had this job, and tell me how your approach was that first week.
It was a difficult situation, obviously being one of my better friends in life, and Dan Quinn being fired, somebody that I respect so much in football in general as well as life. But it didn't happen. And he handed over the reins to me in a team meeting on a Monday, talking to the football team. His last conversation he had with the whole team, he was able to hand it over and pass it off to me. And I simply told those guys the truth. It was not like we had a culture problem. We didn't have an issue with a problem locker room. We had a winning problem. And we failed Dan Quinn, in my opinion. And I just felt that way. And I was honest with the guys, and I told them that. And I got them ready for our next meeting that we had, which was on Wednesday. The guys all came in live. We were able to do it in our indoor facility. And I simply laid out what our plan was going to be moving forward. And it was the only thing I could do was revert back to some of the lessons that I learned from some of the former coaches that I've been able to deal with in my life, like a Mike Tomlin, like a Monty Kiffin, like a John Gruden. And the only way we knew how to win when we were in Tampa together was force our will on our opponent. And I told those guys that our jobs were simple. We had to go out and score and try to get the ball back on offense and defense, and special team included. And I wanted to make the messaging simple, and I want those guys to have something that they can focus on in order to go out there and try to get a win. Like you just mentioned, the next day, going out, and we try to have a really good practice that Wednesday. The next day we go out, and it's Thursday, and you have a COVID issue, and you have to close down the building. So you get the one practice on Wednesday, you get the Thursday of virtual meetings, you come back on Friday, you try to double down the day and get a little bit of both. You get a little bit of that Friday, and you go out and you play a tough team in Minnesota who you know is going to be physical, you know going to be well coached, you know going to do the right things. And we're fortunate enough to get a win. And I think the guys started to feel what winning felt like, and they got comfortable with it, and they wanted to do it more. And so the messaging just got more simple, and you start to add things to your messaging as the week go on, and you try to find ways and more ways for your team to find a way to get a win every single week.
What do you recall about sort of the mentality of your team that first week you take over? You're 0-5. The two guys who run the team get fired. What happened when you looked your team in the eye that week? What did you see?
You know, I wanted to get the guys together, and I wanted to get different groups together that hadn't been together as much. You know, sometimes I wanted to get the corners and the tackles together. I wanted to get a bunch of my guys that were running hit type players. I wanted to get a couple of leaders together. I wanted to get a couple of guys like the Mike linebacker and the quarterbacks together. You had to get the different groups that talk to the team and the different groups that are able to affect the team. And I wanted to be able to talk to those guys and want to tell them what I expected and what I was looking for and how we're going to move forward. And we're able to do those things and have those communications with people and put all those people on the same page. We got on one accord, so to speak. But I wanted those guys to know what the messaging was going to be and how I wanted them to proceed moving forward. And they absolutely followed it to a T. And they absolutely bought into the message. And we were able to go out there. I told them how we wanted to practice to look. I wanted to look more physical. I wanted to look more fast. And we knew that we had the opportunity to be able to do those things. So we've seen it before in the past, and we have won before. And we knew what it wanted to look like. We wanted to get that thing across our team to make everybody feel important and make everybody feel a sense of urgency that it's time to go. And I felt like the guys really responded well. We went out there, we performed well, and then we kept it going. And we've been able to keep it going since.
Would you say that sometimes, as long as you've been in the NFL, sometimes you sort of look at a team and you say, that's not an 0-5 team? When you took over your team, did that thought go through your mind?
Absolutely. You know, I never felt we were an 0-5 team when we started. You know, we had the bad results. We had some bad luck. We had some bad things happen to us as far as individual accolades and some of the things that happened situationally. But I never felt we were an 0-5 team. I always felt we had enough talent. I always felt we had the guys. I felt we had the 1-2. I felt we had the quarterback. I felt we had the guys that can go out there and get wins. And now that they're having the opportunity to be able to show a little bit of that, we've been able to go out and get a couple wins. We've been able to go out there and learn some lessons. We've been able to go out there and learn some hard lessons. But I think these guys here, they know how to win, they want to win, and they definitely want to do it for the city of Atlanta.
As well as things have gone, I wonder, when you took this team over and after you win that game, basically, I thought it was really interesting when I watched your team play. It really was, it seemed to me, kind of a fiercer defensive team. Okay, and I think that showed a lot with the game against the Raiders this past weekend. But what did you see and what did you try to get across to your defense? You know, a unit that obviously you know so well.
You know, like I talked about, when I got those different sets of groupings together, the run and hit group, I thought was really important for us to bring back. You know, I felt it was really important for us to talk about our hustle and that being a big part of what we wanted to do moving forward. We had to get our guys to run to the football and absolutely hit. And I felt like we had to get the group of leaders to be able to lead that in practice so we can have that type of mentality in practice and play that way. And I felt like it showed up big time in that first game, and it's continued to show out throughout. You know, this week in particular, it showed up in a big way.
The second game that you coached against the Detroit Lions, that game probably has got to be memorable to you because of some frustrating moments, particularly the Todd Gurley moment late. And I wonder, when you look back at that game, 23-22, a loss to Detroit, that you certainly had a good opportunity to win. What do you think?
You know, obviously you start with yourself first. And I told Todd I shouldn't have put him in that situation. I should have taken the knee with Matt, kicked the field goal, and got out of there. But even if Todd made the one mistake, we got to find a way to be better on defense and get that ball back. And good teams finish off good games, and we needed to finish off that good game. But it all starts with me. It started with me first, taking accountability, letting my team know, letting those guys know, and absolutely moving forward from there.
Have you had the impression so far with this team, because you have coached on both sides of the ball, okay, do you think that helped you, first of all, in getting a hold of your team and in getting them basically back to the team that you thought it should be when you took over?
Peter, having the ability to be on both sides of the ball has really helped with the communication just throughout the whole team. When you're able to talk to the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the defensive players, your special teams coordinator, your special teams players, and you're able to set the game plan up in the light that you see in your vision, and you're able to communicate on everybody's language on a different level, I really think it helped you just control the football team. So that communication, that experience has without a doubt helped me tremendously. And it's been something that I've learned from over the last couple of years. Has been great for me.
There's something about your game against the Raiders that I really found interesting, and that is this. The first possession of the game for the Raiders, you guys punt the ball back to them. I'm watching this. And on the first snap, you get an offside against you guys. So now it's 1st and 5 for the Raiders. They complete a short pass on first down, a short pass on second down. Short pass on second down, short pass on third down. So now it's 4th and 1 from their 45. And they choose to go for it. Okay? And Josh Jacobs, who's been, along with Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry, just about as hot as any back in football, over the last month or so. He basically gets stuffed. I think Deion Jones. It was a group of guys, but that to me was a gigantic series for you guys. The Raiders come in; they're within a whisper of sweeping the Chiefs this year. Take me into that game and that moment and what you think that meant.
I think you hit it right in the head. I think it's about being in that moment, in that time. They had the ball, they had the momentum, they got a 4th and 1 opportunity, a chance to really keep the drive going. And we had talked about keys to the game. And I talked to our guys about 3rd down stops and not allowing these guys to have possessions throughout the game and control it that way would be huge for us. So that first drive, them going for it on 4th and 1, and Deion Jones absolutely flying over the top, putting his chest and running and hitting like we talked about, putting it right on Jacobs, and getting everybody to rally to the football and knock them back and not let them get that first down was huge. That was a big point in the game. It was a big point in our development, and it was a big growth in our defense. And when that happened, the guys were all able to go to the sideline, and that whole week we had focused on resetting. And they all said to themselves, reset. And they all went out there and they played the rest of the game. And every time they came off the field, they had the ability to reset. And I believe that's really why they played as well as they did.
When the game was over, I was in and out of a bunch of games on Sunday, but when the game was over, I called up your stats, and here was the most impressive thing. That this offense that I consider to be a top 10 NFL offense for sure, explosive offense, has 14 series in that game, and they score 0 touchdowns. Now, I realize you have to be, we got to focus on the next one and all that, but that was a tremendous performance by your team. What'd you say to your team after the game?
I really am proud of the coaching staff. I'm really proud of the guys that execute the game plan. And I was really proud of everybody on the team. If you could see the support from the sidelines, from Matt Ryan, from Julio Jones, who was not even playing, from all those type of guys, and recognizing some of the things that their guys were out there doing for the team, I thought that was really important. I think when you get that kind of support and that kind of togetherness, I think that's what makes teams become really special. And that was a moment that you can look back on at some point, hopefully, and say it was one of the special moments in the Atlanta Falcons history, and the Atlanta Falcons moment that we're having right now. You got to live these moments one time at a time. You can't look past them, man. But that was certainly one that I remember for a long time.
The other thing I was going to ask you, you just mentioned that Julio Jones doesn't play. You beat the Las Vegas Raiders 43-6, and Julio Jones does not play in the game. I mean, you always think that, oh boy, we're going to be missing X, Y, and Z without Julio Jones. But it's a mark of the guys who play behind him, I think, for you to have been that explosive in that game and to have won the game the way you did.
Big next man up philosophy here, and the guys been able to step up. We've had guys go down all season. We have guys step up all over the place. Julio Jones is a hard guy to replace, and you're never going to replace him with one person. But we got guys like Alameda Zacchaeus. We had guys like Brandon Powell, Christian Blake, Ridley taking on a higher role, Russell Gage going out there doing more and whatever's required to win the football game. And when you have that type of mentality and that type of room, particularly in that receiver room being our bus drivers, I really felt was a big part of what we wanted to do and how we want to do it.
If and when you get to the point at the end of this season where you talk to teams about your case to be a head coach, how are you going to answer the question, how have you changed since you coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I was 32 years old. I was very young. I knew everything. Let me just tell you, Peter. Or at least I thought I did. But I've been so fortunate to be able to learn more, to grow, to develop, being around guys like Mike Shanahan, being around guys like Dan Quinn at a high level. Mike Shanahan and his work ethic and what he brings to the party and how disciplined and organized he can be. And Dan Quinn and how much he puts into it and how much he loves everybody around him and wants to develop every single person in that building and how much he wants to incorporate those things. Being around a guy like Jay Gruden, who absolutely knows how to be a gunslinger and worries about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And then I've been fortunate enough to grow up around John Gruden, have a friendship with Mike Tomlin that will never be lost, be around guys that I've seen do it coming up, and Cal Shanahan and Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, and being able to work with those guys and be able to deal with stuff that they deal with on a daily basis. It's just been a lot of fun for me, and a lot of growth and development over the last couple of years is going to help me moving forward. But with all that being said, you got to stay in the moment. And right now we're in the 1-0 mentality moment, and that's our job, period.
One other question about the whole head coaching business. As you watch the game right now, that this season started with only 3 African-American head coaches among the 32 in the NFL, 4 minority coaches in all. Obviously, the interim coaches have changed that. But I wonder, as you look at it, I've sensed over the years that there's become almost a certain desperation with a lot of minority coaches that it's going to be very, very hard to get their shot. Do you have any what I would call kind of magic pill to try to fix a situation that really has gone south in the NFL?
There's no magic pill. For me, I was one of the fortunate people to have an opportunity to be in head coach in this league at a very young age. And I just believe that if you be your best self, those things will happen. And I'm just simply right now just trying to be my best self and put my best foot forward at all times. There's definitely a problem in the NFL with minority hires or whatever the case may be, for sure. Is it a sad thing? No doubt. But I would hate to be hired just because I was minority. I want to be hired because I'm the best guy available and the best guy for the job. And that's the only thing you can ask for. That's the only thing that you want is those type of opportunities and those type of forefronts to be able to be in front of.
In some of the changes that have been made this year, having teams interview at least 2 minorities, having coordinator jobs be open up to the Rooney Rule, do you sense that things are going to be any different this year?
I really believe that is just a great effort that everybody's putting forth and some real thought and some real movement and some real moving the chains, so to speak, in the right direction. And you got to get all those things done just to give people opportunities to speak and be able to be in front of different people and to be in these different forums. I do believe the people that deserve those jobs, they'll rise to the top, and like they always do, and things will work themselves out. We just got to get in position to present ourselves and put in position to be in those spots, and we'll find out and see who's ready to do it.
One other thing just about your career right now, it just seems to me that the fact that now recently you have been at a high level on both sides of the ball with the Falcons, both on defense and offense, and now having the opportunity to be the interim head coach. The experience you're getting there seems to me to be invaluable.
Certainly great experience. But the thing that I most am appreciative of being here in Atlanta is the support that I'm getting from the highest level to the lowest level, from ownership to everybody in the building. I mean, everybody is supportive. Everybody's willing to help. Rich McKay has been phenomenal. The support that I'm getting from the personnel side, the support that I'm getting from the coaching side, and just everybody involved with what we're trying to do. Everybody has one singular focus right now, and it looks like and it feels like it's trying to win. And that's what we want to try to do as a coaching staff, and myself included, going out there and trying to win.
You at all surprised you're 4-2 after this team started 0-5?
You know, you should never be surprised when you put the work in. You should never feel bad about the result when you're proud of what you've been able to do. So I'm proud of the guys and what they've been able to do, and looking forward to doing more.
One other thing about your season, I don't know any team that's got as tough a home stretch as you do. I know you are in the 1 week at a time mentality, but you got to face the Saints this week. And then you got Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady twice and Mahomes once in the last 3 weeks of the season. So I'll tell you what, your team is really going to be tested down the stretch. You are going to be tested down the stretch.
Peter, you can't ask to be in those moments and not want them. You got to relish the opportunities. You know, don't ride the emotional roller coaster. Go out there and force your will on your opponent. Do your job, score and get the ball back. Let it play where it plays.
Two other things. Do you believe that the way this league is set up right now with COVID and the way it's been handled, how much of a distraction has it been for your team? Has it been really tough to handle, or do you have to have this attitude that, hey, we just got to keep going?
You know, I think you're putting these leadership positions for a reason. You're putting them in the lead. You know, these crisis management moments and what's going on with the world. We're all fortunate to play football, and people want to see us get the Sundays. You know, part of my job right now is finding a way to keep your team safe, getting the Sundays so we can play this beautiful game that we all love.
It's amazing. You think, okay, if you ever get the chance to be a head coach again, you know, the offense and defense and special teams are important. The team chemistry is important, but maybe the most important thing is to make sure your guys don't get this disease that's killed 270,000 people. I mean, you didn't exactly go to coaching school to be able to survive COVID-19. What has that all been like for you?
You know, it's just certainly a part of it, man. Leaders are put in position to lead. And our job is to give the guys information, do our best to educate them, do our best to let them know what the best practices are and how you want to do it. Definitely abide by all the rules, go and do it about the right way, get this Sunday, play our games, play this game for our season, our fans, play this game for everybody that's involved, and play this game for you, because we all want to play it. It's just so much fun to go out there and be able to accomplish those things. And we're just enjoying it, man. You gotta relish the moment. You gotta relish those opportunities, and we got it right in front of us. And if we can just do things the right way, we can get through this thing together.
And we'll end with this. Have you heard anything from your owner, Arthur Blank, about the future of Raheem Morris beyond this year?
You know, I just mentioned it to you, and what I talked about was the support that I'm getting from those guys. They don't owe me anything. These guys don't owe me nothing from what they're doing for me right now. From a winning standpoint, from a support standpoint, from whatever I need standpoint, they've been giving it to me, and I'm fired up about that. And when that time comes, we'll certainly talk about those things. I'm sure you'll hear about it before I do. But right now, my job is to just go 1-0 and live in that moment, man, and just enjoy it and relish this opportunity.
All you got to do is go out and beat the Saints this weekend. That shouldn't be too hard.
That's it.
Hey, listen, Raheem Morris, interim coach at the Atlanta Falcons. Thanks so much for joining me, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, Peter.
Hey, that was great. Thanks so much for doing it, Raheem. Really, really appreciate it.
No problem, Peter. You have a good one, man. Take it easy.
All the best to you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.